Oh my god guys, look, it's Pokemon Iceberg. Nuzlocks are quite possibly the most well-recognized challenges in gaming history. If you don't know what one is, firstly, how was your time in the bunker? And secondly, don't worry, it's a pretty simple challenge, Grandma. Rule 1. You can only use the first Pokemon you encounter in each area. And Rule 2. If a Pokemon faints, you can no longer use it. And if you white out, you lose. But today we will be delving past the simplicity located above the water and reaching the icy depths of obscure and unknown, as this iceberg will range from common facts about the world of Nuzlocks that you'd expect the average Pokemon fan to know, to bizarre conspiracy theories and lore shrouded in secrecy. Even if you're one of those shameless enough to call yourself a pro Nuzlocker, then I'd stick around until the end of the video, because even you guys might learn something new. Speaking of new things, allow me to introduce the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Now, I know what you're thinking, I already know everything about Raid. Really? You know all about the amazing graphics, billions of customization options, and all 650 of the unique champions constantly being added? Well, you might be if you're one of over 80 million people who have already downloaded this turn-based free-to-play game. But if not, don't worry, because I'm here to tell you more. Here is Hmaz's top 3 favorite champions. At number 3, we've got Tormin the Cold. Number 2 is the Draconian Lizardman Dracomorph. And finally, at number 1, we have Sir Nicholas. Very festive. And that's not all, because right now you can enjoy Raid Call of the Arbiter. This epic 10-part animated series is being celebrated in-game, with characters from the show being added as champions. That's right, they're going from the big screen to your mobile device. The first of which being Artak, who will be available to everyone for free. Just log into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th, and this bad boy is all yours. My personal favourite thing though is the clan boss. I mean, just look at that thing. If you want to take him on, you'll have to join a clan, like my one found under the name Hmaz. And with all of this epic content available to you for free, why not begin today? You can even use my link in the description or scan my QR code to receive some extra help in crushing the competition, including the epic champion Drake. So if any of that appealed to you, follow my link and I'll see you on the battlefield. And thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. So without further ado, here is the Pokemon Nuzlocke Iceberg. Level 1, the Cosmog tier. Nicknames. This refers to the hidden, but not really hidden at all, third rule of a Nuzlocke, which states that each Pokemon you catch must be given a nickname. This is because nicknaming a Pokemon increases the chances of you becoming attached to it. So when that attachment is inevitably torn apart by you doing something stupid, there is more of an emotional impact. Do you think if the dog in Marley and Me had no name, then the audiences wouldn't have been bawling their eyes out when it... If you're a Nuzlocking junkie and do a lot of runs, you may opt for a nicknaming theme, such as songs from an awful indie band you only know because the girl you liked posted it on their story 4 weeks ago. Critical hits. Like an airplane, critical hits are amazing when you land one, but terrible when one crashes into you. They multiply the damage of an attacking move by 1.5, or double if you're playing a game from before Gen 6. But how often do they occur? Well, that's quite simple. You have a 1 in 16 chance before Gen 7, and a 1 in 24 chance after. So in a challenge where all your Pokemon only have 1 life, you can see how a single one can ruin absolutely everything. As such, critical hits are probably the main reason why people lose Pokemon during Nuzlocks, and are also probably the reason behind some broken 3DS consoles. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were main series games released in 2017. Set in the tropical climate of Alola, the game served as an expanded version of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Why is this relevant to the iceberg? Well, these games are regarded by many as the hardest games in the Pokemon series to Nuzlocke, with some Nuzlockers even saying the challenge eclipses that of some difficulty ROM hacks. This is because some battles, such as the Totem Pokemon, were designed with the idea that it would be a team of Pokemon against a single super boss. Trying to keep your squad alive when it's encouraged to sacrifice them to gradually chip away damage is a pretty hard task. And it's not just the Totem Pokemon you have to worry about, because some of the trainers have teams that would make Manchester City feel scared. I mean, just look at Mullane's Elite Four team: Spike's Klefki, Bisharp, Magnezone, a bloody Metagross, and an Alolan Doug trio with Fissure. Oh yeah, and every single boss trainer has fully EV'd Pokemon too, even Ilima on the freaking tutorial island. Now, a lot of these factors are also present in Sun and Moon, so what makes Usum more challenging to Nuzlocke? This guy. This guy is why. Jaden animations. Okay, come on, I wouldn't be doing my job as a PokeTuber right if I made a Nuzlocke video and didn't include Jaden at some point. Jaden Animations is an animation YouTuber that posts videos on a wide array of topics and life experiences. Her series, where she attempts a series of Nuzlockes, has been a driving force in pushing Nuzlocking to a mainstream audience, with a cumulative total of 169 million views across all 3 videos, which is also the amount of reaction videos that have been created in the wake of this series. Randomizers. Randomizers refers to a program that is used to randomize a game of Pokemon.
What? Nah, I never knew that.
Wild encounters, trainer Pokemon, items, and even the stats, types, and abilities of Pokemon can all be flipped on their heads. This total carnage is often used in conjecture with the Nuzlocke game mode to create the entertaining abomination that is the Randomizer Nuzlocke. While experiences between players will differ, Randomizer Nuzlockes usually end in 2 ways: by catching an overpowered Pokemon with a broken ability and sweeping through the game, or getting destroyed by a random trainer with a Pokemon that has Dragon Rage. Oh yeah, and if you get a legendary as a starter, please don't fall into the trap, because its moveset probably looks like... Level 2, the Cosmoem tier. Hardcore Nuzlocke. Oh, so a Nuzlocke is way too easy for you now, huh? Well, simmer down, kid. We're in the big boys playground now. A hardcore Nuzlocke refers to a Nuzlocke that's, harder. Along with the 2 main rules of a Nuzlocke, the player must now also abide by the following. Number 1, you must not level your Pokemon higher than the gym leader or Elite Four's strongest Pokemon. And number 2, you are not allowed to use any items in battle, whether that's potions or X items. These 2 rules prevent you from steamrolling through the game with one Pokemon, and make it so that you're approaching your battles with an emphasis on strategy. Drayano hacks. Drayano60 is a well-known developer in the Pokemon community who spent a decade creating a wide array of GBA, DS, and 3DS ROM hacks. These hacks make a lot of changes to the game's original material, such as editing trainer data, Pokemon data, wild encounters, and even events that happen in the games themselves. More recently, even the fairy typing has managed to be added to games that previously didn't have it. It's all these changes from their vanilla counterparts that make these hacks extremely appealing to Nuzlocke. Not only is there more of a challenge for you to inflate your ego with, but the player can also use unconventional Pokemon they wouldn't have access to in a normal playthrough. You wouldn't expect a Spiritomb to be hiding in Azalea Town in the original Heart Gold Soul Silver, or literally any non-Unova Pokemon to be obtainable in the main story of Black and White. ROM hacks made by Drayano include, but are not limited to, Pokemon Fire Red Omega, Pokemon Renegade Platinum, Pokemon Rising Ruby, and most recently, Pokemon Blaze Black and Volt White 2 Redux. Monotype runs. If you've been on YouTube for any amount of time, you know these Nuzlockes, and so do I. A Monotype Nuzlocke is where you attempt to complete the iconic challenge whilst only being able to use one type of Pokemon. Typically, your starter Pokemon is thrown out at the earliest opportunity and replaced with the first Pokemon of the type you're using. And extra encounters are gained by running around in the grass until you find the first Pokemon of said type, even if it is a 1% encounter. This rule set creates a unique experience experience where difficulty is distributed based on the type of Pokemon you choose. For example, Erica in Fire Red and Leaf Green is usually regarded as an easy gym leader, but with a team of water types, it might not be that simple. Well, actually, if you get Tentacool, it's not as hard. Emerald Kaizo. Pokemon Emerald Kaizo is a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald created by Sinister Hood Figure in 2017, which functioned as both a game and a secret government experiment into how much pain a human can endure. In a similar vein to Driano's hacks, which SHF said himself he was inspired by, Emerald Kaizo edits the locations of Pokemon, Pokemon data, and trainer Pokemon. But as the name Kaizo suggests, the battles are cranked up to the degree where sometimes they can be considered straight up unfair. You've got the item Bright Powder, which makes all moves against the target 10% less accurate, being scattered across enemies, Focus Bands being given out like Girl Scout cookies, and perhaps the most notorious of them all, the Quick Claw. You could spend 28 business days working out the strategy for a battle, but one instantly activated explosion could ruin everything. Combine that with overworld map puzzles that want to make you tear your hair out, and you get quite possibly one of the most infamous ROM hacks of any game.
Finally tried Kaizo Emerald and I hate to say that it sucks.
Emerald Kaizo is a bad hack.
Emerald Kaizo help.
There are only a handful of people masochistic enough to have hardcore Nuzlocke this game, and if you want to be one of them, all I have to say is...
Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?
Clauses. Clauses are shorthand for extra rules someone may follow during a Nuzlocke, either in general or for a specific game. I didn't know where to put this one really, because additional clauses can vary in obscurity. This is meant to be more of a blanket explanation, but I'll still give examples of both kinds. One popular extra clause a player may follow is the Shiny Clause, which allows a player to catch and use any shiny Pokemon they have the low chance of encountering on their journey. You can't just go out and hunt them though, the Pokemon has to be a random shiny. An example of a slightly more advanced clause found in a specific game would be Roxanne Clause in Emerald Kaizo. This clause is commonplace for hardcore Nuzlockers and permits the player to use Pokemon that are level 16 against Roxanne when the level cap is actually 15. This is because the battle becomes a lot more consistent when using a Grovyle rather than this tiny gecko boy. Radical Red. Pokemon Radical Red is another noteworthy ROM hack in the Nuzlocking scene, developed by Supercell in 2020. This hack adds in Pokemon from all different generations to Kanto, and has updated battle mechanics all the way to Generation 8, and of course it's made a lot harder. But unlike other hacks, I find the difficulty in Radical Red to border on sheer absurdity. Not in an unfair way like Emerald Kaizo though. No, some of the changes are just hilarious. Did you guys know about the hidden lore where Bruno of the Kanto Elite Four traveled to Galar and caught one of the Guardians of the Region Zacian? No? Come on now, catch up. When this game first released, the developers famously bragged about the game being so challenging that it was quote, impossible to Nuzlocke. Until people did. So the devs nerfed every single Pokemon that performed well in the Nuzlocke vacuum and cranked the difficulty up even further. People still managed to beat it. Alright fine, you want a challenge? Introducing Hardcore Mode. We'll give you Bible pages of rules to follow, banning the use of weather, setup moves, and protection by the player, giving gym leaders permanent sandstorm, rain, electric terrain, and illegal moves on their Pokemon. In Fire Red, Koga's strongest Pokemon was a Weezing with Tackle. Now, it's a Kyurem White with f***ing Dynamax Cannon. Now see if you can Nuzlocke this. I'll let you guys figure out what happened next. Layer 3, the Lunala tier. 4chan Origins. Nuzlockes are like McDonald's chicken nuggets. Everyone sort of enjoys them, but no one knows where they actually came from. Well, it turns out Nuzlockes originated from the friendly and wholesome site of 4chan. University student Nick Franco, who went by the online alias of Nuzlocke, posted webcomics to the /v board of a self-imposed challenge he had fought up. Initially titled Pokemon Ruby Hard Mode, he would play through the game whilst only catching the first Pokemon you find on a route, and no longer using Pokemon if they fainted. Hey, that sounds kind of familiar. But the term Nuzlocke doesn't just come from his username. The first Pokemon caught in this comic was a Seedot, who for some reason had the face of a character from Lost called John Locke. Yeah, this guy was doing fusions before they became oversaturated. So when the Seedot evolved into a Nuzleaf, the combination of the Nuz and the Lock would be embedded in Pokemon history forever. Nick would go on to write a series of comics using this rule set in different games, and the funny and entertaining nature of them would make it a hit in certain circles. This in turn inspired others to make their own webcomics detailing their own experiences playing through different games with this rule set, and the rest is history. Hardcore Plus. Hardcore Plus is a Nuzlocke that's been made harder again. In addition to the Hardcore Nuzlocke rule set, there are now extra restrictions applied to what the player can use. For one, the player must complete the run on a special version of the game where EVs, which are stat buffs you gradually gain by defeating loads of Pokemon, have been removed entirely. Additionally, the player can no longer use any moves that boost their stats, such as Work Up or Flame Charge. But if the move only has a chance of increasing your stats, it's generally considered fair game. And the final new rule, level caps are to be implemented on all boss trainers, not just gym leaders. Certain other Pokemon and moves may also be banned depending on how much you hate your life. Tag Battles. Tag Battles are double battles in which you control half of the Pokemon and the other half are controlled by an AI partner. These battles are especially tricky for Nuzlockers because A, you could potentially have two Pokemon target you down, and B, you could potentially have your partner's IQ turn into a negative integer. Notable tag battles in popular games to Nuzlocke include the Silphco tag battle in Radical Red and the infamous 12 vs 12 tag battle in Renegade Platinum. Pokemon Run and Bun. Pokemon Run and Bun is the most recent ROM hack to grow popular in the Nuzlocking scene. Released by Dexter in March 2023, it may be less well known than some of the other hacks I've talked about thus far, so I'm putting it in this tier rather than the last. The hack itself is an edited version of Pokemon Emerald that is similar to Radical Red in terms of having a new generation of Pokemon and updated battle mechanics. A Radical Red and Emerald Kaizo mashup, if you will. And what a surprise, it's extremely hard. Some cool aspects that do set it apart from other hacks include a reshuffle of the order of gyms, and a focus on resource management, with the player having a limited amount of heart scales scattered around the game that can be used to relearn moves or even max IVs. As of writing this video, only one person has Nuzlocked the game fully on stream, that being a user that goes by the name of Freeplates. So hey, if you start now, you could be the second person in the world to do something. You probably won't though. Level 4, the Necrosmeter. 1D equals R. One day, a Nuzlocker woke up and had an amazing idea. What if we took all the rules of Hardcore Plus, but made it so that if a single one of your Pokemon faints, you lose the challenge? That is what 1D equals R, or 1 death equals reset refers to. Also sometimes known as a deathlock, this is the most extreme Nuzlocke challenge out there besides, I don't know, playing the game blindfolded or something. But despite this, you'd be surprised to find out that almost every game has been completed with this rule set. Even hacks like Radical Red Hardcore mode and Emerald Kaizo. How do these people do this? Purgatory. Purgatory is a term used to describe the early game in Pokemon Blaze Black and Volt White. In these Drayano hacks, the first couple of gym leaders turn Nuzlocking into something as stressful as open heart surgery. Silent, Chili, and Cress are easy as 1, 2, 3, but the real whooping begins at Lenora. First off, it's a double battle, so things are already taking twice the amount of brain cells. Then you have her actual team. If you've ever done a Nuzlocke of the original Black and White, you'll know just how deadly her Watchogs retaliate can be. Alright, then imagine that 4 times. And instead of a Watchog, it's a Buffalo. And then there's Burr, another double battler who leads with double Intimidate and possesses Pokemon with extremely high base stats for a third gym leader. Yeah man, because my Tranquil is really gonna do wonders against this Scolipede with Rock Slide. What makes these two battles so much more challenging though is the limited amount of encounters you get. The maximum amount of Pokemon you can have before Burr is 9, and that's if none of them perished on Lenora. In fact, this issue got so bad that people started implementing the Pinwheel clause, which treats Pinwheel Forest as 2 different areas, so 1 more encounter can be made. So in conclusion, if you're a Nuzlocker, these 2 trainers will make the early game resemble hell or purgatory, hence the name Purgatory. Discord demons. So, did you ever have that one friend in school that would make up crazy stories you just knew weren't true? Well, keep them in mind for this one. In the modern era of Nuzlocking, there are two main ways of interacting with the community and updating people on your runs. Those being through a constant live feed on a streaming site such as Twitch, or by scattering random screenshots in a Nuzlocking Discord. The issue with posting images in a Discord though is that there's obviously less believability, and things can easily be faked to change the narrative about what happens during your run. You could lie about getting a great encounter on a route when in reality you got one that sucked. You could not report a random death of one of your Pokemon and carry on as normal, or straight up just not reset when you lose. This phenomena has led to the rise of the Discord demons, supposed pro Nuzlockers that complete extremely difficult challenges in seemingly little attempts, but won't ever use this high skill level to pursue a streaming career. You may hear excuses from them such as, my computer is unable to stream this game from 2005, and I don't like live streaming, which raises suspicions about the validity of their runs even more. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that only posts their runs on Discord is a cheater, but what I will say is that it's extremely funny when one gets caught out for blatantly making stuff up about their run. Yeah man, these 5 1% encounters I got in a row, completely legit, don't worry about it. No one really knows what compels the Discord demon to cheat, because at the end of the day, they're only fooling themselves. But this is still happening, even in new games such as Pokemon Run and Bun. PokeTubers fake Nuzlockes. Did you ever find it suspicious that a lot of old Nuzlockes on YouTube were completed in one attempt? This conspiracy states that during the time period when Nuzlocke playthroughs were all the rage, a lot of these series, posted by PokeTubers, were, at least in some parts, faked. The theory goes if something bad happened, such as accidentally killing an encounter or losing a Pokemon, they would simply reload their save file and restart the recording. This gets more and more suspicious when you factor in all of the off-camera grinding sessions PokeTubers used to do during their Nuzlockes, giving me big, hey I did some mining offline vibes here. So, in more ways than one, a Discord demon is just a modern day equivalent of a PokeTuber restarting their recording. And it's not like there was zero incentive for people to do this. For one, many PokeTubers used to commission graphics packs including thumbnail logos and overlays to be used in their playthroughs. If your run was cut short, there's no guarantee you'll be making the money back you spent on that commission. Additionally, staying on a series for too long without a win can get stale very quickly, and may make a viewer lose interest or even press the dreaded unsubscribe button. But conspiracies aside, there is no actual hard evidence of any of this occurring, just speculation based on, in retrospective, a suspicious trend. Level 5 Ultra Necrozma. Slowbrogate. Speaking of cheating on camera, it's time to address the great Slowbrogate controversy. Now, it's hard to piece together what happened because a lot of the posts on this subject have actually been removed for whatever reason, but I will try the best I can. In July 2021, popular streamer Nuzlocke and Catgirl Pokemon Challengers successfully completed a hardcore Nuzlocke of the infamous Pokemon Emerald Kaizo. It was a massive achievement that took PC 151 attempts in total. He released his save file, had a few articles written about him, yada yada yada, and everything was at peace in the universe. Until it wasn't, because in January 2022, a Reddit post surfaced claiming that PC had cheated during the Nuzlocke. How? By modifying the IVs of a Slowpoke he caught. For some background context, Slowbro is a key part of the Emerald Kaizo Elite Four, thanks to its ability to never get crit and thus PP stall Pokemon with a combination of Slack Off, Leper Berry, and Recycle. So you can see why stats on such a Pokemon could be instrumental to winning a Nuzlocke, and why this controversy is called Slowbrogate. But how did they find the cell? Well, before the IVs were revealed, the Slowpoke in question hit itself in confusion. And, get this, by analysing the amount of pixels on the HP bar, it was found that the Slowpoke took more damage here than was mathematically possible with the stats it supposedly has. The post theorized that sometime between this moment and the reveal of the IVs in PK Hex, which is a program that is used to check but can also edit all manners of a Pokemon, PC made the IVs of Slowpoke slightly better, because having a better Slowbro would have given him a better chance of beating the Elite Four on the numerically significant 151st attempt, which then went on to happen. Additionally, on the save file he released, Slowbro is seen to have no origin seed when you hover over it in PK Hex, which I think means that through Gen 3 RNG it would have been impossible to encounter in game, but I'm not fully sure on this point. Like I say, some of the details are a bit hazy. Anyway, PC of course addressed the allegations and admitted that the IVs of the Slowpoke were edited, but had no idea how it happened. He theorized he may have accidentally hit the randomize IVs button in PK Hex, but for this to have happened and actually change the stats in game, he would have to first randomize, then purposely overwrite the Slowpoke in PK Hex, overwrite his save file, and then click confirm to any changes made. That's 4 steps instead of 1 accidental step. Amongst all the theories as to what happened though, the randomized one does seem to be the most likely, but let me know in the comments whether you think it was intentional or not, and whether it invalidates PC's Emerald Kaizo victory. TCPI statement. Yeah, that's right, the Pokemon Company International have released an official statement regarding Nuzlockes in the past. How did this happen? It's a long story. In September 2022, a clip from the Kit and Krista podcast went viral. This podcast is hosted by 2 former Nintendo employees, Kit Ellis and Krista Yang, who hosted a show on Nintendo's official YouTube channel called Nintendo Minute. In the clip, Kit talks about a time where he and Krista pitched the idea of doing a Nuzlocke challenge for an episode of Nintendo Minute, and how it was immediately shot down, with TCPI telling the pair that they view using this self-imposed rule set as being on the same level as hacking a Pokemon game.
Shoot.
So they said, we consider this to be on the same level as using like hack game, ROM hacks.
Like, how is that the
like,
same?
Excuse me?
I don't know how, again, how they get to these decisions.
This is just a style of playing a game that everybody can buy. There's no hacking.
Yeah, they're
You're just
not
playing
using
the game.
anything weird.
Krista went further, claiming that some creators who played Nuzlockes on their channel were kicked from the official Nintendo Creator Program. That's right, if you've ever played a Nuzlocke, then you're officially a criminal. Outrage poured out on Twitter about TCPI's backwards thinking. Some pretty good memes came out of it too. In fact, the clip garnered so much attention that game journalist sites started picking it up. One site, Eurogamer, decided to reach out to the Pokemon Company for clarity, and to everyone's shock, they actually received an official statement back from them about the situation. The statement read, "The Pokemon Company International does not have any issues with fans or creators playing the video games with the Nuzlocke rules." Now, this statement did quell the Twitter frenzy, but stirred confusion as to why the idea of the episode was rejected in the first place. There are a few theories as to what happened, one being that TCPI have had a change in policy towards Nuzlocking since the idea was pitched, perhaps spearheaded by a certain video series. Another theory is that there was a miscommunication somewhere in the suggestion, and Pokemon thought the original idea involved something like a randomizer or a ROM hack, which Pokemon and Nintendo have always been against. But unless someone that watches this video gets a job at the Pokemon Company,
I guess we'll never know.
Still, it is pretty cool that TCP knows what a Nuzlocke is, but I suppose if you look at their popularity, how couldn't they? And that was the Pokemon Nuzlocke Iceberg. It was actually extremely fun to put this all together and explore the depths of this self-imposed challenge. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like, as it helps share the video with others. Some of you may not know, but I actually now have a Patreon with a ton of benefits, such as getting these videos a day earlier than everyone else. Obviously it's not necessary, but if you checked it out, I'd be eternally grateful. And of course, don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link down below, or my QR code for exclusive bonuses for new players. Oh, and if you watched this video and knew everything already, I still promised I'd teach you something new. So, welcome to Hmaz's class on how to take a shower.